Hi guys, this is Ms.Hong. Today's June 2nd, Tuesday. Oh my goodness, it's already June, We have only about 3.5 weeks left. Wow. I didn't even imagine I couldn't see you until at the end of the year. Oh my god. Alright guys, so we are solving quadratic equations, right? And our first method was factoring, by factoring, and we did that one. And today we will do solving quadratic equation by taking square roots. And after this, you will learn quadratic formula. Okay, and after that, I'm gonna go over quadratic functions and converting and equations and everything. Then we are done for the year. Okay, all right, so guys, look at this one. So review. So we did this kind of thing, right? Solving quadratic equations. So if a quadratic equation is factorable, then use factoring method. So factoring method means you convert it to the standard form. So all terms in the left side in order, right? Highest power to the constant. And your right side must be 0. And after that, we factor by GCF. And after that, we can use trinomial factoring, AC method, bottoms up, or difference of squares, right? So we learned those kind of skills. So solving like that is factor by factoring. All right, so let's go over this one, guys. So number 1, you have x squared minus 6x equals 0. It's not trinomial, but you have GCF here. So let's factor by GCF. So I'm gonna factor by x, and then you have x minus 6 equals 0, right? And by zero product property, we need to set each factor's gonna be 0. So I can do x equals 0 or x minus 6 equals 0. So from here, you get x equals 6. And easily, if you get only x term, then that's 0. And if you get x minus 6, then easily we can just change the sign. That's minus 6. So your x will be positive 6, right? And for this one, look at your coefficients. A is not 1. So we need to think about if this A is GCF, but it is not because your numbers are 5, -8, and -4. So we have to do AC, right? So my AC is -20, and you break it, and difference is 8. Then that is, I can think about 10 and 2. Difference is 8, right? And product is 20. So those are my number. And we factor first. So 10 and 2, right? And told you same sign as the middle term. So you put minus here. And your last one is negative. So you put plus here, right? And then we are not done yet. We need to divide it by A, right? So divide it by 5, divide it by 5. Then you can simplify this. That's 2, right? But this one you can't. So your bottoms up. Then you get this one. So let me write it over here. Then you get x minus 2. And this one is 5x plus 2 equals 0, right? And then we want to get the solutions of the quadratic equations. So from here, opposite sign 2. From here, opposite sign -2, and your coefficients over 2, -2 over 5, right? So for this one, I just use the shortcut, this and that. Okay, and for number 1, 0 or 6, right? So we did this one. That was solving quadratic equations by factoring, right? And today what we're gonna do is solve quadratic equations by taking square roots. So when do we use that? When do we use this method? Factoring, when it's factorable, then you use factoring. But sometimes the expressions are not factorable, like this. When the equation is in standard form with no bx term. So there's no bx. So look at this. You have only a and constant. There's no x. In that case, taking square root method is easier. And also, when the equation is in vertex form, we already know the vertex form, right? So parentheses and square, like that. If you get vertex form on the left side, or something looks like square, then we can use taking square root method. Okay? And how to use this method? First, you isolate the squared term, whatever squared term. So from here, let me mark it over here. So from this one, your square term will be that one. And from this one, your square term will be this parenthesis, right? Like this. Those kind of thing, you need to isolate it. That means you isolate that term on one side. Otherwise, you have to move it to the other side. All right? So we will solve the problem together. And after that, you take square root both sides, right? You need to remember, you should remember this. Plus, minus. When you take square root, then you always have positive, negative. Because, guys, you know, 2 square, that's 4, right? And also negative square, that is also 4, right? So if I'm saying, oh, I have a number, but I don't know what that is. But when you square that, the result is 4. Then what? And I want to know this x value. Then that's supposed to be 2 different values, 2 and negative 2. Then x is 2 or negative 2, right? So when you square that, you just get one value, but x squared is 4, and you take the square root to cancel this, right? Then always you should have positive, negative, all right? So, and after that, we will solve for x, all right? So this is the basic thing, and I will show you how to solve the problems. So, guided practice number 1, x squared equals 25, right? This is already isolated. Your square term is isolated, and the other numbers, other side, right? So we can just take the square root here. So take the square root, then you cancel this square and square root, so you get only x here. And what do you get? Positive, negative. So you get plus, minus, square root of 25. What's square root of 25? That's 5, right? So that is plus, minus 5, like this. And look at number 2, guys. This is isolated, but do you see this 2? We need to get rid of this 2, right? So I'm going to divide it by 2. Then you get x squared equals 49, right? And take the square root here, like that. Then you simplify this 2, square and square root, that's opposite. So when you have those 2 together, then you can cancel that out. So you get x equals plus, minus. Don't forget plus, minus. If you take square root to each side, always you should have plus, minus. And what's square root of 49? That's 7, right? And look at this one, guys. This one, you have x squared. There's no b, right? You have only a and c and equals 0. So there's no b, so we can use taking square root method, right? But, you need to isolate the term. So I'm going to do this. X squared equals negative 64, right? And let's take the square root for this. You take the square root. But guys, look at this one. Look at this. Is this possible? In the square root, you cannot have negative number, because that means you're looking for, oh, I want to find the number. You square that and you get negative number. That's not possible, because even you square negative number, what? It turned to positive, because square means you're multiplying it twice, right? So if you multiply two negative signs, then you get positive number. Think about it. There's no way multiplying same number, negative negative, or positive positive, you multiply by the same number and getting negative answer. It's not possible. So we cannot have negative number inside of the radical. That's always positive. In the radical, you could have 0, but you cannot have negative. So what this is? Not possible. It's undefined. So no solution for this one. We cannot solve it. No solution. This is important. Okay? When you get negative, we cannot take square root. Alright? And look at number 4. It's the same thing. There's no b, right? You have a, you have c, but there's no b because there's no x. In that case, what? We isolate square term. So I'm gonna have only x squared on the left side, and I will move everything to the right side. Alright? So plus this minus 16, right? Then you get 9x squared equals 16. And we don't need that 9, right? So divided by 9, divided by 9. Then you get x squared equals 16 over 9, right? And then what do? Take square root, right? Because I want to get x value. So you just take square root. Then you cancel this. You have only x here. And told you take two square roots each side, then we get positive, negative, right? And do you know what's square root of 16? That is 4. Do you know what is square root of 9? That is 3, right? So x equals positive, negative 4 over 3. You can write it like that, all right? Or if you want, you can break it 4 over 3 or x equals negative 4 over 3. You can also write it like that. But this one means positive negative 4 over 3. Okay? Alright, let's look at number 5. Guys, you know what? It's 12 minutes, 30 seconds. So I'm going to cut this video and I'll be back on the second one. We have only 4 questions left. Alright? See you later.